And this is the mindset that our people have. Them believe so them if you get ram goat, them forget money, and them forget all the get benefits from electing somebody, when in truth and in fact the only benefit you should get is for somebody that really loves the country to improve on the society that you live in, and not only improve upon it for you but improve upon it for generations. Hi guys, welcome to Brains on the Beat. If you're new here, please like, comment, share and subscribe, and if you're oldie but goodie, thank you for staying tuned to your girl. So in today's video we're going to be talking about Andrew Holness administration getting a failing grade for corruption. And honestly, it don't take experts to tell you this, but I want to give you guys a full overview, a full spectrum of how the world looks at Jamaica and how we are perceived as a nation, and also how our government body is perceived. So let's get into it. It says, despite occasional hauls from civil society, Jamaica will not see a dramatic decline in corruption or the perception thereof until enablers in high places are collared, locked away, insists management consultant Dr. Henry Morgan, as 3 analysts last week wrapped the Andrew Holness administration for its efforts to tackle corruption. Morgan, the founder of and chairman of Agency for Inner City Renewal, who has worked for decades in the gritty trench town community, said corruption has long become attractive to the populace and successive administrations have made no real progress in stamping out the practice. It is said that people get the government they deserve, and it's also said that the government reflects the people in which it comes. The only thing that can tame the beast of crime and violence and corruption and other behaviors that now inform culture of people are laws, rules, and regulations properly enforced, Morgan said. And honestly, they only enforce rule, laws, and regulation on poor people. As far as they're concerned, there's no rule and laws for them, because all of them seems to be beyond reproach, beyond correction, beyond being held accountable. Unfortunately, in Jamaica, there has been a problem with enforcement. Acknowledging that Jamaica has benefited from significant financial contributions to civil society and a state watchdog, including the Integrity Commission, and has taken some steps with legislative advances, Morgan reasoned that corruption has become institutionalized and will not go away anytime soon. And I completely agree. It's definitely became institutionalized. For him, there's only one solution: dig out from the roots through enforcement. Added Morgan, this is where people do jail time. 100 in agreement. We've been saying this for years. Where corruption pays, corruption stays. It's simple mathematics. And until corruption costs more than it pays, it cannot be eradicated. And the same thing for the first cousin, crime and violence, he positioned or poised. Asking to grade the country's progress in rooting out corruption, Morgan said the government's effort left much to be desired. And it didn't only leave much to be desired where he's concerned. It leaves much to be desired from anybody that's looking at it from any perspective, whether in or outside of Jamaica. Given a grade that is not necessarily finger pointing, he said, I think that government should bear the heavy end of what is allowed, and I would say that based on corruption perception index, we see everyday administration across the board have a failing grade. Former private sector organization of Jamaica head Howard Mitchell said that with many Jamaicans holding the belief that they should benefit from political spoils, the practice would be hard to stamp out. And that is very true. A lot of Jamaicans feel like when them party in power, they stand to gain something, and honestly they don't gain a damn thing. Okay, not a thing. People see their elected representative as a means to getting scarce benefits and spoils. That's like what I just said. They seem to think that when they elect certain people, they will benefit from getting them elected. Politics and politicians are not seen as making contributions to making a state and society a stable place to live. They're viewed as the gateman to benefits and spoils, said Mitchell, who is a chairman of Jamaica's accountability meter portal, JAMP. a non-profit organization dedicated to improving governance on the island. A person can lose an election because of their inefficiency in giving out spoils, he said. So them can lose an election because they not give out the biggest ram goat, them not give out the heap of money to fix the road, them not give out or telling people that when them get elected. It says the mindset will not change until people see how much they are losing by virtue of corruption and how corruption is linked to crime and violence. It is the mindset that ingrained in our society, that is linked to the patron-client relationship, that is linked to slavery and the Busha slave relations. What can you do for me? He explained. Mitchell said the successive administration have made attempts to deal with scourge of corruption with little success, crediting the Bruce Golding administration of the 2011 with the anti-corruption measures now in place. He gave Portia Simpson Miller administration from 2011-26 a passing grade, while the Golding and the current Andrew Holness government receiving failing grade. The issues of corruption was placed squarely on the table again last week with the release of reports dealing with findings of the Integrity Commission probe into the Petrojam saga, shedding further light on the state-owned refinery apparent culture of excess, cronyism, and mismanagement. And what they're actually talking about is that Whitley and the person that was in charge of Petrojam, which was Dr. Sai, he has a weird name, Whitley was actually a best man in his wedding, and that's the connection. A friend and friend do things in a Petrojam. So not qualifications. But anyways, it says the 2019 Corruption Perception Index released in January by Transparency International, Jamaicans slipped to 4th place down the ranking to 74 out of 180 countries and territories, after also failing 2 places the previous year. The 2019 report gave the island a score of 43, down from 44 a year earlier. A country's score indicates the perceived level of public sector corruption on a scale of 0, highly corrupted, to 100, very clean. Last Friday, Integrity Commission Executive Director Greg Christie said corruption acts by public officials are usually betrayed by red flags despite efforts to conceal them. Public officials who in turn for bribes and abuse their offices by shaping public policy or even laws to favor special interests are a big part of the problem of grand corruption. So they go into basically politics to shape laws, rules, and regulations so it can benefit them and so they can get away with whatever they want to get away with. Not because they love the country, not because they want to help poor people, because they want to do what they want to do and they don't want to get in trouble. Such forms of corruption through executive clandestiny are often betrayed by red flags. The fight against corruption starts with lawmakers, period. You don't get strong and effective anti-corruption institution with weak anti-corruption laws, and we have very weak anti-corruption laws. And I talk about this with the whole Lisa Hanna thing. Nepotism and cronyism does not have legislative laws on the books in Jamaica or criminal laws on the books, so they get away with stuff like that, and there needs to be laws for that. Government that hold majority vote in parliament must therefore be held primarily accountable for endemic corruption, he added. JMP Executive Director Jeanette Calder said Jamaicans will start paying attention to corruption when they realize how it directly affects them. And they never will realize that, because we've been talking about that with crime and violence forever. They don't understand that crime and violence affects everyone until it hits their doorstep, until after them auntie, them cousin, them brother, them sister get killed. That's when they realize that crime and violence affects them. And if corruption is not directly affecting them, they won't see the bigger picture. They won't see how it's affecting Jamaica as a whole country. For instance, she said, with Jamaica losing roughly 64 million annually to corruption, a property type, a hospital closing about 4 billion. For instance, she said, with Jamaica losing roughly 64 billion annually to corruption, and a property type, a hospital costing about 4 billion to construct, every parish could have its own properly outfitted hospital. Portmore, she said, could have already had an hospital had it not been for corruption. Things are not where they should be, and definitely not. But we are making headway, she told Sunday Gleaner. The pace at which we make them is another story. She gave the Golden regime a B for legislative measures towards accountability, but said she was unimpressed by both Simpson Miller and Holness administration. And we agree. Just this alone, this is what sticks out. $64 billion annually Jamaican people lose to corruption. Less that. 4 billion it takes to construct a amazing hospital. Okay, you know how much hospital Jamaica could have if it would get rid of corruption in our government? Just that alone, that would help Jamaican people so much, and help the doctors and nurses that work in that field. But instead, the Nigerian Jamaican funding into corruption. Honestly, I feel like Andrew have not said anything about the Petrojam scandal, because him in the to him neck. Sorry, not sorry. He hasn't talked out against it. Him allow Whitley to, he moved Whitley before the Petrojam scandal broke, and then he allowed Whitley to resign with full pension. Me not understand that. I don't understand it at all. Comment what your thoughts are in the comment section. Are you surprised that the Andrew Holness administration get a failing grade? What do you think about also the PNP getting involved, or getting put out there that they're also involved in nepotism and cronyism? Example, Lisa Hanna. What do you think about the JLP Mayor Michael Belvis, who actually used poor people funding to create a charging port for his Porsche, and there are people now saying that he needs to resign as mayor? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he needs to resign? Do you think that Andrew Holness needs to make him resign? Do you think that something needs to be done to him for mismanaging or misusing poor people's money, even though there's no law stating that he can't? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on corruption? What are your thoughts on Andrew Holness getting a failing grade? What are your thoughts on all of this? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.